Oh, yes, indeedy. We're doing the HDFNL Footy show. And David, look at you. You got lots of sunlight behind you and all that, and I've got plenty too.
Yes, good evening, Brian, to you, and good evening to our viewers. And speaking of sun, that's where I'll be over the weekend, up on the lovely Gold Coast, sunning myself for that all-important Super TV mid-season break. Well,
I
it's good
don't
enough for the
care.
open.
No one cares where you're going, mate. You should be calling a game down here and getting a bit of experience for your good self. But oh no, you're hitting up to. Mate, you're going to a game that doesn't matter. I mean, if you beat, it's what is it, 10th versus 11th.
No, it's about 10th versus 7th, I think, or maybe
I don't reckon the
maybe
Gold
12th.
Coast is
But
7th, mate.
yeah, but still, we need the 4 points. So, no, looking forward to get away for a few days, a bit of sunshine. I think it's 25 and sunny on Saturday when they're playing.
Sure. You do you. Now, let's talk about last week. You had a pretty big game where you were.
Yeah, that's right. Over at Atkins Street, watching the Rampage in North Bendigo just continue on their merry way. Comfortable winners in the end, 22-11, 143, defeating Elmore 8-8-56. And look, all the signs are there for North Bendigo that they mean business, and none more so by that man. And I kept saying it during the call. Jordan Ford up forward, he's been a revelation. Cogs, he had another pretty handy day, kicking 5 goals. And I think the good thing is they didn't have Dylan Clem playing. He was out injured. And the fact that you've got someone at your disposal, such Jordan Ford, that can still bob up and kick five without their leading goal kicker playing, I think bodes well for him come September.
Yeah, well, the thing is that it's not new though. They used to do that with Aaron Craig, put him up there if things weren't going well. So they're just swapping around a bit. But they're not lucky because the boys have been playing there forever. But they it's more about Elmore than it is North. I mean, where's Elmore at, mate? They seem to have some
Look,
good players, but they've just lost their way.
yeah, look, they were good in patches, but I think it's been the story of the year. A patch of football doesn't make a full game, does it? And I thought Reece Holmberg and Matty Gilmore played pretty well. Hayden Truick played well. They James Harney battled up forward. Joey battled down back. And look, just looking at the kickers, only Lockie Munro kicked two, and I think that's where their issue is. They haven't got a key forward that's kicking bags of goals. And the argument to that can be, well, North Bendigo stopped their supply because they're pretty good in the midfield as well. And Harrison Jarvie, I thought he played his best game I've ever seen for North Bendigo. He kicked 2 goals, and Cody Riddick up forward kicking four. And North Bendigo revealed another Philo in young Noah Cogs. He debuted, and you should have seen the crowd get around him when he got a goal late in the last quarter. The crowd were in ruptures for young Noah, who played pretty well in the second half. He found his feet, probably a little bit slow going in the first half, but yeah, came good. Back to Elmore. Yeah, look, it's Matt Philo. He played pretty well. Just too and far between having some real impact, meaningful impact into the game.
Yeah, and again, I don't think the season can come quick enough to end for Elmore at the minute. There's still 6 games to go, but yeah, it's going to be tough. Probably the other game that we had was a little bit too one-sided too with White Hills and Colbo, and again, White Hills they did it again. Just another quarter of just they just fell asleep, and look. I think Brad McConnell, the coach, and you can hear the coach, as you know, from upstairs at White Hills, and yeah,
Yep.
he was not happy at halftime. And yeah, I think the process was his words, paraphrasing his words. It was more to do with the fact that they're just people, and you do
Yep.
something good, and then the next quarter you go, oh, well, let them have a go now. Yeah, but they've got some good players though. They're going to be if they can stick together and put a few in the mix. Excuse me, they will be a very very good side. Waddle's going forward.
Yeah, and look, I've been saying it all along though. I think Brad doesn't. He's under no illusion as to where his team is at. It's probably more the frustrating thing for him, as like you just said, is maintaining that consistency for 120 minutes. Because they showed earlier in the year they can be competitive when they're up and about.
Correct. The same thing will happen. Just keep happening through the season. They will beat someone big though before the end of the
Yeah,
season. I don't know who that'll be, but they'll beat someone because they can put it all together on one day. They can perform. Then look out. But yeah,
Yeah,
look, Colbo looked good. The only issue I would see for Colbo is possibly depth. Wouldn't like to see him get too many injuries because the twos I think were a bit short on the weekend, but I wouldn't have thought there was a great deal in the twos.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, there's not a lot of kids coming through. They don't have they might have one or two that they're playing, but unlike White Hills, who have about eight, yeah, I'm not seeing too many come through, and that's okay for now. But down the track, it means that yeah, you got to try and recruit a few blokes, and yeah, not easy.
No, it's not. And look, most teams go through a cycle like that over the course of say a 5 to 7 year journey. I think what they're doing though, well, is blooding the young ones like Macaulay Johnson. He's come through the reserves and he now is getting a bit of a taste of senior footy. I think those type of players will definitely benefit from this year. And look, it'll bode them well going forward. Yeah, they'll probably get players that come back and may pinch a couple of those spots that have been probably taken up by the junior senior players, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But they get the experience, and you can't buy experience, and particularly runs on the leg. So I think what it was, yeah, definitely will have an impact for the finals. That's for sure.
Um, I don't know what to read into Heathkit Huntley. I mean, they both had to win, and only one team could. Um,
Like like the old saying, two men enter, one man leave.
yeah, yeah. Look, Heath could have been the form team, and Huntley have been up.
At that game with Heathkit kicked seven straight in the first quarter, and I think that's really set them up for the rest of the day. Huntley kicked 4 goals to themselves, but by halftime, the writing was on the wall. Interestingly enough, no team kicked a goal in the third quarter. Heathkit kicking four behinds and Huntley two, and Heathkit only kicking the 1 goal in the fourth quarter. So they only kicked 1-4 in the second half. To Huntley 2-5. So I'm not sure if the rain conditions down at Pigeon Park made that game. But what it did bring was a thrilling finish, and I reckon Coach Andrew Saladino would have been glad to get out that 1 5 points clearer of Huntley and take the 4 points.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's a tough one, but again, I mean, there's not much in it. And if Huntley had have won the first few games, which they lost, I think they lost the first game to White Hills.
Yeah.
It could be a different story. So, I think they all know that they don't need to be told again and again and again. But yeah, look, the only thing I'll say about Huntley is if they did make the finals, with all the pundits lined up, they could be hard to beat, mate, in finals.
Yeah, but I don't think they will, so we don't need to go there.
Well, let's see anyway. But yeah. And the other game was Mount Pleasant and Lockington Bourne, and they just went on their winning way. Mount Pleasant after a big loss, as you said last week. So yeah, I don't know
Yeah,
about Lockie. Yeah, they're another team that's just up and down. You wouldn't know.
yeah, exactly. And I spoke to Joshy Hahn the other night. As I said, we had the Mount Pleasant boys do a bit of pickleball, so well done to them for supporting the pickleball club. But yeah, look, they were relieved more than anything that they could play some decent footy back at home because it's been a bit of a trouble ground from the Marnong and State Oval where they've had two draws and a couple of wins. So for them to come out of the blocks, probably the second quarter they kicked 5 goals, one to 2-2-14. Probably put them in good stead. They were, at halftime, probably 35 goals up at that, and that pretty much ended out to be the same margin towards the end of the game. So, look, good teams always rebound back after, I guess, what you could describe as a shock loss. So, and they are a good side. And, again, they're just progressing along. I think, them, North Bendigo and Colbo will probably be my top three for the race to the final at this stage.
Yeah, and Mount Pleasant, they do it, mate. They always do it before the changeover at June 30 being yesterday. Well, he played last week
Yeah,
in that game. Nathan
Nathan
Kay.
Kay, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nathan Kay came across from us. Well, Nathan Kay, as we know, originally from Elmore to South Bendigo, now to Mount Pleasant, kicking 2 goals. So, yeah, handy addition. Can play. We've seen him play some really good games up at Elmore. So, you're right. They're just quietly building their stocks as they make that charge to defend the flag in September. Cogs.
Yeah, he's a 5-pointer too, I noticed, which is going to make it difficult come final time. It means they will have to play some kids, and obviously someone's going to miss out, or maybe two, because of that five
Yeah,
point thing.
yeah, that's right. Looking at the points they used on the weekend, they used 42 out of their 43 allocated. So
Yeah.
you're right. and you got the likes of Joel Wharton and Xavier Carter, both 4 pointers as well. So they're gonna have to make some calls. But look, depending on injuries too, you might have a couple of players go down, which might free up the points for them.
Yeah, they do it. They identify what they need and they go and get it. That's Mount Pleasant. They've been doing it for 100 years. Then there's nothing wrong with it. It's not illegal. And some
No,
clubs
that's
do
right.
it,
Within
some
the
clubs
system.
don't. But I
Yeah.
think they're being perennial users of that rule. And I get it too. If you're playing for a club or I don't know about the South Bendigo thing because the South are going all right. But yeah, I don't know. Anyway, it might have been a connection of a connection. Dave, let's talk the old yay or nay, mate. Let's get some subjects out there. First one I've got, because you'd have nothing, is Kahuna. It just got in before June 30 an application to join the Heathcote League again. Now, their members have said yes, they've had that meeting. I am privy to a little bit of information, and that is that I think the HDFNL board were caught by surprise a little bit that the Monday or whatever it was, the Sunday that they came in and said, we want to apply, which means that you can't just go, nah, not this year, champ. You have to actually take it on board and be official with it. So there's a bit of water to go under the bridge. I don't know. I don't know what the clubs will say. I'm not that close to the clubs in regards to their decisions they make. So I don't know. What are you thinking? Yay or nay for Kahuna HDFNL?
I'm saying nay, purely, and I watched a bit of a social media post on Facebook from the Kahuna Kangaroos Football Club last week where they were talking about most of their players are based from Melbourne and Bendigo, and it's easy for them to travel south. But I'm just not sure whether HTNFL clubs are prepared to travel north to Kahuna. And I think that's going to be the stumbling block. Yes, it's only one time a year. I get that. But I think what it then opens itself up to, the likes of Kahuna, you might then get some other outlying areas north of the border wanting to come back in. And I think that creates a bigger problem in terms of geographical location and presence. I mean, we've got a situation in Bendigo Football League. We've got a team that's probably nearly an hour and a half away from Bendigo that's playing in it at the moment. And I know the distance from Heathcote to Kahuna, for an example, probably closer to 2.25 hours. So I don't know whether that's suitable, particularly for the under 15s and under 18 parents. So they've got to drive that distance early in the morning. I think they're going to be some consideration. But look, I understand the rationale why Kahuna want to do it. They're saying they're losing players. I think they referenced 6 players in their social media post footage that I watched that have been lost to Kahuna this year because they've got players from Melbourne and Bendigo. So it's easy for them to play at clubs closer to where they live. But yeah, I just think I don't know if the clubs will be willing to make the travel north. That's all.
Yeah, I know someone who's close to Kahuna, the club, and what you said is right. They certainly they know that those players have probably had enough of the competition, um, and want to play. I mean, again, if they don't get in, there'll be those players will go. And they're better players. It's an hour and a half from Bendigo to Kahuna. I just got on my maps here, so that's about what you would know, but it's probably what you get to Leachville, I would think. About an hour and a quarter to Leachy, an hour to Gunny, and 45 minutes to
Yeah,
Lockie from Bendigo.
yeah. So if it's an hour and a half to Bendigo, it'd be about 2 hours from Heathcote. Get on that extra half hour from Heathcote to Bendigo.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Is it representative of the region that the competition's based in? Not sure.
Hmm. Yeah, well, I suppose you take that into calculation. It is called the Heathcote District Football League. So, yeah,
Yeah.
Kahuna's not really the district, but then there's Leachville.
No, well, that's right, and that's the other argument too. So I get that.
Yeah, no, it's probably a nay for me, but then easy to say because we don't make the decisions, they do. I just think some of the clubs will go, oh, well, they like the buy. They like the competition, and
Yep.
they're starting to iron out an under 15 comp too, which seems to be going okay. So yeah, I don't know. It's up. I'm glad I don't have to be part of that decision making.
And that's the other thing. People say, "Oh, yeah, but eliminates the buy." But I've spoken to who did I speak to on the weekend at North Bendigo? Someone from Elmore, forget who it was, but they said they like the buy because what it is, it's 2 less games that they've got to get volunteers, 2 less games that they have to do player payments
Mm.
per year. So there's a cost to the club. And the players like the buy because that gives them a break. So, by having that 10th team in, you eliminate the buy, you add an extra cost pressures to a club. and you having volunteer pressure as well to support, running the club for 2 more games a year. Don't know if clubs will be receptive to that.
Mm. Yeah, no, fair call. Anyway, let's wait and see. Any questions, David?
Yeah. Um, Look, I don't want to sound like it's bashing of this particular team, but I noticed at halftime in the Bendigo Footy League on the weekend there was a big margin down at Harley Hammond Reserve, and I'm just got a few concerns that I noticed one of their players has now left Broadford to go to Mernda, the boy Edwards. Again, just and I saw there was an article in the Addy this week that said that the town of Broadford's back in the club and the committee, but I just don't know these 200 plus point drive-ins that Broadford get at the moment, whether they're going to sustain the players to continue on for next year, and that's my concern. Just interested in your thoughts on that, Brian.
Well, Maryborough got beaten by 200 points a few times, mate.
Yeah.
Then in recess. Yeah, I don't think it
Well,
happened
that's my
quite.
concern.
Hey,
That is that's my concern. Will Broadford go back into recess if they're not sustaining the wins?
I don't think they'll go back into recess. They won't join the Riddle League, and they certainly won't be joining the Heathcote League. I don't know what options would be available for them. I really don't. I don't know what's up there. What is it, the Kyabram League? I don't think they'd go there either. That's a fair kick.
Yeah, the only one Clyde District where you got the Goulburn Valley, and they're obviously not strong enough for
Yeah,
Goulburn
it's strong
Valley.
enough for that.
Uh,
Yeah.
no, so yeah, just look, and again, I'm not bashing the club because I've been in a club in early days at Stratford, so we were getting some solid defeats, but I just, yeah, my heart was in my mouth generally for the concern because at halftime it was 142 points to zero Sanders' way, and the writing was on the wall from nearly a 300-point driving. So
I,
credit to the players to come back, but yeah, I've just got some major concerns about player retention, I guess, Brian.
yeah, I think that's what it is, and plus the fact that they're a fair way away. I mean, if you're a Bendigo club and you're struggling, well, you can probably drag a few in or do whatever. But when you're up there, and I know sources tell me that when they play at homes, particularly recently, they've been short on the netball court and the footy, so field. So I think that's a worry. And I think if you're dragging people in just to give them a game or whatever, that's an even bigger concern because and I know they're one short on their teams they're meant to have for Netty as well. So uh,
Yeah.
I don't know what the due diligence was on it at the start in regards to where they were
Well,
going,
that's
what they're
probably
going
the
to
bigger
do.
question. Yeah, that's
Mm.
probably the bigger question. I've been pretty vocal on that, the board of the composition of the Bendigo Footy League, what due diligence did they do to get, the I guess the guarantee from the Broad Footy Club that they'll have a sustainable player base, both in football and netball.
I don't. I understand there would have been, and Fitzy and the guys in charge of BFNL, they're not silly. I mean, Fitzy.
No, but it wasn't during his time. That was the problem.
Yeah, I know, but what I'm saying is that they're not silly. He runs a great real estate business in Castlemaine. He's a good bloke too, and the others
Yeah.
that are on there, they get it. So what I'm saying is that they'll look at this and go, okay, they know it's a problem. They're not silly, but they'll also
No,
look
no.
at YCW and Morong and say, and both those teams, um, you would be look at them and say, okay, well, one of them has to come in. They need one of them in. They need one of them in. They've got all the wishes and hopes on teams like Rochester and Echuca. I just don't reckon that's the way to go. I think that there's a good chance those teams would just go back, and play in their own in that comp again. A bit like, say, the North Bendigo experiment, the Lockington experiment. That if it didn't work, they're always going back to that comp. Whereas YCW and probably Morong's done everything they can in that comp. There's not much more they could do. YCW is a different kettle of fish because they haven't done a lot. But and I think Morong are the ones that the BFNL would look at because their junior base out that way is huge. He's only up the
Yeah.
road from Maiden Gully. Their record for their playing groups, second to none in that comp.
Yeah, yeah, and I hear what you're saying. I get what you're saying. The only question I'd have is can Morong sustain it in the Bendigo League? Yes, they've been dominant in Loddon Valley for the last 4 or 5 years, but Bridgewater won 7 premierships in a row at Loddon Valley, and they never sought admission into the Bendigo Footy League. So
Yeah,
just
yeah, but
because,
they should have at that stage. They
yeah,
didn't, but they should have. And I don't. It wasn't
no,
as topical back then, but there was certainly. And let's go back a little further. and talk about Calibre, who did the same thing before
Well,
Bridgewater.
that's exactly
They
right.
were in the same
Yeah,
boat. Why don't they test themselves in the Bendigo League? Well, they didn't because all due respect to Calibre, but you don't have the kids and Bridgewater. Well, you do have a few coming through. Nothing compared to Morong. Nothing compared
yeah,
to Morong. Morong in the cricket
no,
have got X amount of junior teams and four senior teams. I mean, that if Bridgewater calibre in those sports are not virtually non-existent. So
yeah,
I think you'll find that kids are everywhere in that. Morong's thriving. There's a new supermarket in Maiden Gully and all that. It's their ground, i.e. council run. It's not school run. So,
yeah,
they've got some options. The only thing I'd say is that they need to up the facilities a little bit because they need a bit of work out there. And they
yeah,
have got a women's side as well. So.
Yep, no, no, all good points. All right, we better get on to this weekend's
Yeah, we
games.
will,
Cog.
mate. You can take it away with the games this week.
Well, I'll go to Huntley first. Huntley up against Litchfield Gumbau. Must-win game for either side at Strosh Reserve or Harlow Huntley Oval, as it's now known. Your thoughts on that game, Brian?
Sorry, who was that again? Someone just rang me when I was talking.
Huntley, Litchfield.
Well, Leach will have to win. Hartley, well, they
Yep,
both have to win, but Leach will have to win because if they don't, that's it. That'll be just about it for
yep,
their finals. And I think Leachful have taken on the better sides in the competition this year and done very, very well against them. Mounts was one. There was a few others that they pipped. So, and they're only
Heathcote, they knocked Heathcote
was
off.
another. So I think they could make a mess of the finals if they got their act together. But when that is, I don't know. But I'll tell you what, it might have to start this week. And well, hardly, they put a lot into this year and they're in the same boat. So it's going to be a beauty. You would have to probably say Leachville.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Next game up at Elmore taking on White Hills. Can Elmore get their second win for the year, or will White Hills get their third? What's your thoughts there?
You wouldn't be surprised if Elmore won, but both teams are evenly matched. In other words, there's a bit more experience with Elmore, when it comes to playing on the kids. What I will say from last week is that, and I went into the rooms at White Hills last week, and I went straight up to Ben Irvine, who played on Brandon Grenfell. Grenfell kicked a
Yep,
few, kicked five, but mate, he had a crack. He was
yep,
undersized, nowhere near the weight of Grenfell, and he had a crack. And Paddy Crawford was the other one that had a crack as well. And
yep.
they were probably the two better players for White Hills. So they're having a crack, and Comrie Conlon. I would think probably White Hills just, but I wouldn't be surprised if Elmore won.
Yeah, I think this one's going to be tight, but yeah, I tend to agree. I think White Hills probably just got a couple better personnel, but yeah, wouldn't be surprised if Elmore won, which would be their first win at home, I believe. So.
Mm.
Now this game I consider to be an 8-point game for both sides. Brian, it's Lockington up against Heathcote at Lockington. I think if Lockington lose, they're going to be hanging by a thread come September. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I think the two teams you mentioned earlier, that like Beachy and Hartley, will be watching that game with interest too, because they need Lockie.
Yeah,
They need them to lose. I don't know what Lockie you get. I mean, the one I saw with their recruiting there was a good side, but then I've seen some games lately that have been poor. So I don't know which Locking do you get.
and if you recall, we broadcasted the reverse game early in the year down at Heathcote, where pretty much it was neck and neck all day, and Lockington got the better of them by about 4 goals in the
Yeah,
end.
it did.
And
Yeah,
I Heathcote was stinging after that game, thinking that their final chances
yeah.
online. So I think they'll be going this game full of venom.
Definitely, yeah. It's like I said, it's a watch with interest who wins and who loses. There's a lot of people coming up after games because we obviously we have the camera operators, so we're giving the updates.
Yeah,
And they hear who wins and loses, and that's what they're saying. Oh, well, that means that's good because they're doing their sums.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So who you tipping for that one?
Uh, Lockie, who are Lockie playing again?
Heathcote?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was joking, mate. He's on a roll at the minute.
yeah,
I don't know if they can keep that up, but at the moment they'll be too good.
yeah. And I think it's like I said, it's an 8-point game for either side. And I
Yeah,
think the match of the round I'd say would be this one: Cogs Cobb and Evan up against Mount Pleasant, two traditional arch rivals over at MJ Morgan Reserve. I think one this is going to be a cracker.
Um, I don't know, Dave. I really don't. I haven't seen enough of Mount Pleasant lately, and I'm going to see a bit of them soon because I've got two games in a row. But I would think with Nathan Kay playing and a few of those boys who are starting to get the feel of the Heathcote League, your Joel Wardens and that, they've had a few games in it now. Lino's a great coach. He really is. He just, to me, his side looked like they're in big trouble against White Hills, and then he does it. He makes some moves. He's got his act together, and
Yeah.
it'll be a test to the coaches this week. I think Mounts can just win, but again, Colbo at home, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think it's going to be close. I reckon there's probably two or three goals in it, but I'm going to stick with the top side in Mount Pleasant. Just purely off the back of the fact that they came in and had a hit pickleball. So I think that run at the pickleball
You're
on
a
Tuesday
sucker, mate.
makes it better
Seriously.
for
Yeah. I mean, they clearly had nothing on if they go. They would have been better off staying home and washing and stroking the camels at Mount Pleasant and
them.
pickleball with you.
No, Josh, he is a good supporter. And yeah, so Super TV live stream match for the weekend, Brian?
Well, you wouldn't know because you're not here, but
No.
it'll be that game there, the Colbo Mounts game.
Yep. Yep.
And
Nah.
like I said, we're all looking forward to it. If you're wondering if I look really fat in this picture, it's not. I'm laying back a bit in my chair. I can't be stuffed sitting up straight, David. That's what it's like you.
Wow, I'm not asking the question.
Yeah, fair enough. I just feel like it. Is that it? Any more games?
That's it for the round. Now, normally you throw the joke of the day onto
Yeah,
me. I'm going to throw it onto you, Brian, first up. See how you
you
go.
don't have one.
I do have one, but I want to let you go first, cab of the rank.
Um, oh. And look, the trouble for you is that mine will be really funny and yours will be really awkward. So anyway, Dave Hancock, right? You know Dave Hancock. He goes to the
Yeah,
doctor.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he goes to the doctor and he says to the doctor, Doc, every morning at 7 a.m. on the dot, I have a perfect bowel movement. And the doctor
sounds
says,
about right.
geez, Dave, that actually sounds pretty healthy, mate. And Dave says, it would be if I didn't wake up until 8. Go on, Dave, give it a crack.
That's not too bad, Brian.
Pretty
But
good.
speaking of Super TV celebs, yourself and the great Brendan Baker uh, were walking down the street, and they both had dogs. You had a Doberman Pinscher, and Bakes had a Chihuahua.
All right, did
Now
he?
you, yeah, now you said to Bakes, "Oh, I'm feeling a bit peckish, Bakes. Let's go to that restaurant over the road to get something to eat." Bake turns to you and goes, "We can't go in there. We've got our dogs with us." Cogho, the man about town, he said, "Relax, just follow my lead." So you and Bakes walk over to the restaurant, and you go in, put a pair of dark glasses on, and take your Doberman Pinscher and walk up to the door where the bouncer was standing. Says the bouncer said to you, "Sorry, Cogs, no dogs allowed." And you, with your Doberman Pinscher, said, "You don't understand. This is my CNI dog." And the bouncer said, "A Doberman Pinscher?" And you answered to the bouncer, "Yeah, they're using them now. They're very good and they protect me from robbers too." So the bouncer door said, "Okay, Cogs, you can come in." Bakes looking back in disbelief goes, "What the heck?" So he puts a pair of dark glasses on and starts to walk in. Once again, the bouncer comes up to Bakes and says, "Sorry, Bakes, no pets allowed." And Bakes goes, "You don't understand. This is my CNI dog." And the bouncer at the door goes, "What? And a Chihuahua?" Bakes turns around and goes, "A Chihuahua? They gave me a Chihuahua."
No. Dave. Not as good as mine, but not bad. Took a while to get there. Took a
Yes.
while. All right. Enjoy the
Yeah.
Gold Coast, mate. And we will.
Yes, I'll be watching on. So 2:15 HDFL matching around live on Super TV through the channels of Facebook and YouTube. So I'll be watching with interest and hope you have a great call, mate.
Yeah, good on you, mate. You just enjoy the Gold Coast and whatever it is.
I'll be
Colin,
sipping those pina coladas at
Pina
on the
Colada.
beach.
Seriously? Righto. Okay. Mate, we'll talk soon. Enjoy. Safe trip.
No worries. Have a good weekend, everyone.